श्रीनारद पुराणे संकष्टनाशनम् नाम श्रीगणपति स्तोत्रम् सम्पूर्णम्.
You are listening to Radio D Hotties, powered by Mahima Creations.
Good morning, Bay! आप सभी लोग हमारी तरफ से एक प्यार भरा नमस्ते,
नमस्कार,
वेलकम,
नमस्कार,
खुशाबदीद,
अस्सलाम वालेकुम,
सत श्री अकाल,
अंदर की मंदिर में
जय स्वामी नारायण,
जय श्री कृष्ण,
जय जिनेंद्र.
हमारे इस्माइली भाई बंधुओं को बोल दे या अली मदद.
मौला अली मदद बोलते हुए सारे फीजी बंधुओं को बोलेंगे नीसा बुला बरजन. हम आ गए हैं आपके प्यारे महिमा के द्वारे. मैं सिर्फ फालतू बाबा
And of course myself Altu Rani लेकर आपके लिए एक और drive time that's going to make it totally exciting and totally मस्तानी.
to the बंद जाने. Of course आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि आज कोविड शेल्टर इन प्लेस डे नंबर 35 है बरजन. That's 135 days since we actually have been sheltering in place. Many of you have been doing it diligently. Thank you so much for that. And of course people wearing the masks. Thank you everyone who are wearing the masks. Again, it is not something which is like a regulated or what do you call that, enforced kind of a thing rule here, but people are wearing it responsibly, showing that you are being responsible for the whole thing. But I just want to say one thing over here: COVID spread is can be slowed down with the wear of masks. Slowed down, because I'm saying this based on the updates coming up about the spread of the virus across the US. But we'll get more news in our news segment for sure. Lekin usse pehle, let's go see what's happening on the roads. Raste ka haal ekdam total saste mein.
It's time for the Bandu Traffic Update. Call us from wherever you are at 408-912-2479.
That's right, Bajan. 408-912-2479 to wherever you are. Let me tell you, roads actually, COVID situation ki wajah se, the freeways are kind of light as in moving. There's no congestion anywhere. But there is an accident reported on 237 westbound east of the 880 exit over there on the ramp. Actually, there's an accident there. Watch out for that. Second lane on the left is blocked, creating some kind of backup in the region. But it's not as bad as BC. I'm not talking about before Christ, but I'm talking about before COVID for us, because our life has changed. Whether you like it or not, it has changed drastically. People might say, no, not much. It has. People who have people like probably who actually have always sheltered in their place, like, not going out anywhere. For you, probably did not change. But many people who actually have had, going to jobs and everything, driving for 1 hour, 2 hours, is no longer there, right, Ambajan? If you're having a job right now and you're working from home, I just say practice gratitude, because many people are actually suffering. In fact, many businesses which actually power the micro economy, which is the economy which is our main street economy, Fadwani, they are actually going into closures. I know what's disturbing for me, Fadwani, when I was going on the walk this morning, I saw many places suddenly popping up signs of for lease.
Oh, what? Really?
For lease, it means that the business has been closed, right? So the property owners probably are looking for more tenants to come, but how will they come? I think it's anyways. It's something which everybody have to deal with together, like how we're dealing with COVID. Probably it'll take some time. All we have to do is just just grit it out for some time and just praise Lord for whatever we have as of now, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Banjana, quick, what we're going to do right now is we're going to see what was the headlines first today, to see what's happening in the headlines, and then we'll come back with our song break, which is the Gadi Akira, and then go into our we'll go news in detail for you guys. But right now, let's see what's the headlines on our newsblog media mahima.com. That's right. If you want to catch up with detail about whatever we share with you guys on air right now, you can go see it on newsblog media mahima.com. And Abhi ke liye Bajan, this is the headlines for today.
The US records more than 10,000 coronavirus deaths in just 11 days as fatalities surpass 150,000. Small businesses in the United States face mass closures. The White House and lawmakers tangle over the scope of the new coronavirus legislation. In the Black Lives Matter movement, the United States expands deployment of federal agents to Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Detroit. With the election looming, Trump hardens his stance against Dreamer immigrant program. Attorney General Bill Barr testified yesterday before Congress and congressional House committees, and he fended off Democrats' attacks over protests. In some news about TikTok, ByteDance, actually, the investors in TikTok actually are valuing it at $50 billion in a takeover bid. Mackenzie Scott, the famous ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, has donated $1.7 billion of her wealth since her split with Jeff Bezos. If news from India, Maharashtra is under Unlock 3 guidelines, where gyms, yoga institutes, and I think, movie theaters still remain closed, but gyms and yoga institutes are going to reopen from August 5th. In Andhra Pradesh, reports of the highest day of COVID-19 cases come out at almost 10,000 cases. Southern states' daily tally is now at 25,000 infections.
Wow, and of course, Bajan, if you have loved ones there, I hope they're staying safe and staying, sanitized, primarily because, staying home is one thing. At the same time, in India, how it is, work happens through social gatherings, social meetings and everything. So that's something you've got to be careful about, even if aunties are talking over the compound, I hope they're wearing masks and talking over the compound. I don't know, have you had this visual of India where people are, before we had Facebook, we used to have postings on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we used to have people talking across the wall, compound.
Huh.
Yeah, have you seen aunties used to go? They would hang the clothes and everything. They would hang on top of the compound and start talking to the neighbors.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't happen anymore. But then, but of course, आजकल तो the compound concept is gone totally, right? People actually live in apartment complexes.
Right.
Yeah, they'll probably be talking through their grills and their patio and everything. But right now, Banjan, a quick look at the Gana Akira we have, and then we'll come back to our news in detail for you guys, Banjan. This is a song which I have for you guys in the voice of Kailash Kher, Banjan. It's a movie called Waisa Bhi Hota Hai.
ऐसे लूटा कि फिर उड़ ना पाया ओ टूटा टूटा एक परिंदा ऐसे टूटा कि फिर जुड़ ना पाया लूटा लूटा किसने उसको ऐसे लूटा कि फिर उड़ ना पाया गिरता हुआ वो आसमां से आकर गिरा जमीन पर ख्वाबों में फिर भी बादल ही थे वो कहता रहा मगर के अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे जो भी हो कल फिर आएगा अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे जो भी हो कल फिर आएगा खोके अपने पर ही तो उसने था उड़ना सीखा खोके अपने पर ही तो खोके अपने पर ही तो उसने था उड़ना सीखा गम को अपने साथ में ले ले दर्द भी तेरे काम आएगा अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे
That's why, Baja, Allah ke bande, matlab upar wale ke bande, hum sab log hai, bandu log, Baja, that's what it's saying. You guys should be, just smile, don't worry about it. In fact, in tough times, you always find a way to actually survive, and that's what we do. I'm a survivor, just survive. You know the song? Survivor. Yeah. We all are going to be survivors, Banjan, soon. Don't worry about that. Soon we will survive. Just hang in there for some more time. But of course, Banjan, abhi to we just played a Gana Akira for you guys. Aur aayega Gana aur baki hai, Banjan, don't worry about that. Lekin we have to go into our news updates for you guys, right? Matlab, jo bhi news headlines diya aapko, you must be curious to know what are the details about the coronavirus updates around the nation, right? So let's go into our news segment, Banjan, where we talk to you a little bit about in detail about the headlines we shared with you guys a few minutes ago. Badani, what's happening?
Well, Aldababa, let me tell you that the United States deaths from the novel coronavirus have now surpassed 150,000 as of Wednesday.
This has been happening for the past 1-2 weeks.
Well,
How come I don't see any regulation in terms of how to curb it? Only I see messages about all
well,
those.
hold on. It could also be that these are people who were infected earlier, no, Altu?
Oh, testing you're talking about.
No, this is deaths. The total number of deaths. It's very, very unfortunate that so many people are succumbing to it. Unfortunately, right now, at the highest level in the world, the United States is at the highest level of the world, and is rising by 10,000 in 11 days, according to a Reuters tally.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a breaking news that I just saw. God, where did that go?
God? Well, what about
Well,
God? Did I find it finally?
There's a congressman who is from Texas who absolutely refused to wear a mask.
Okay.
And I just had that news and it just.
You're really a believer, aren't you?
No, he.
No, every sentence you say God, that's why.
No. It was a breaking news that I got, an update that I got on CNN. Basically, this particular congressman who has been swearing and he never wears a mask, okay? And he's just tested positive for coronavirus.
Ah, interesting.
COVID-19. So anyway, let's tell you that this is the fastest increase in fatalities since the United States went from 100,000 cases to 110,000 cases in 11 days in early June, according to this particular tally. And nationally, the COVID-19 deaths have risen for 3 weeks in a row, while the number of new cases week over week, number of new cases, Altrova, has fallen for the first time since June.
That means it's a good news, right?
Yes. A spike in infections, however, in California, in Arizona, Florida, and Texas this month has, of course, overwhelmed hospitals. The rise has forced states to make a U-turn on reopening economies that were restricted by lockdowns in March and April to slow the spread of the virus. Texas leads the nation with 4,000 deaths so far this month, followed by Florida with 2,900, California, the most populous state, with 2,500. And the Texas figure includes a backlog of hundreds of deaths after the state changed the way it counted COVID-19 fatalities. So while deaths have rapidly risen in July in these three states, New York and New Jersey still lead the nation in total lives lost and for deaths per capita, according to a Reuters tally. It's just really sad that we're having to tally death rates at this point. Another thing that the COVID is taking a huge chunk out of is with regard to small businesses, Ranjan. This is the story of Olivia Colt. She, after surviving 2 strokes at age 27, she threw herself into a catering business, a lifelong dream. 10 years and after another stroke later, she had built a catering company called Salt and Honey Catering Plus Events into a thriving operation right here in downtown Oakland. Now, with the coronavirus pandemic forcing cancellations of her customers' weddings and events, she has slashed her staff from 25 people to just 6 people and has tried to drum up new business by selling groceries online. She secured a $100,000 forgivable loan under the PPP. Oh, good that she got it, because many of us didn't get it, and another $150,000 loan under a federal program for the natural disasters. Now, the hardships are continuing to drag on. One would think that everything is fine, right? But no. She says, I've applied for all the grants and loans. I've maxed out my credit card. I've used my company's reserves, spent my savings. And now she says she's going to have to close her business permanently. Many small businesses nationwide, like Alto mentioned, he's seeing a lot of places, even business places which are now saying for leash, are reaching similar breaking points in an economy with the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. Small firms have survived the pandemic so far with a mix of government aid, forbearance on debt and rent, and creativity in selling to an increasingly homebound and financially distressed populace. So now the first round of USAID is running short and all landlords and lenders are losing patience. Lawmakers are now in tough negotiations. And what is going on with regard to those negotiations? Well, Banajan, the top Trump administration officials and Democratic congressional leaders will try on Wednesday to narrow their stark differences. Apparently, they're really not agreeing on what needs to be done. The Republican version of the bill accounts for more, direct payments, but at the same time lesser than what was given in the original stimulus. And it's going to so-called small businesses.
And didn't that bill also include the headquarters to move towards Trump properties?
I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but
that's one of the reason why they said they're not going to approve it.
Yeah, so the Democrats are saying they're not going to compromise anymore, and they're saying that they cannot craft a compromise before some jobless benefits expire at the end of this week. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows were expected to resume negotiations with the 2 senior Democrats in Congress, House of Reps Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. An hour-long meeting of the four broke up on late Tuesday afternoon with no sign of progress. I don't know that I would characterize it as getting closer to a deal, Meadows told reporters. Senate Republican leaders are pushing for a round of $1 trillion in the new aid on top of more than $3 trillion enacted since early this year. Democrats see a far greater need as they back the $3 trillion in new spending. They're saying that you need more. We know what happened in the first bill, right? They gave $600 per week in enhanced unemployment benefits to people.
Yeah.
The goal was to rescue many of them, but it expired. Actually, it expires last week, right?
See, I'm not an economist, Falcon. I would just say go back to the mint, print some more money, and give everybody $1 million to survive. And let's see what happens. Even the plane out totally.
Yeah, do you seriously think we can do that?
Yeah, well, Trump takes over. Don't worry, all this will happen. He'll amass all the property. He'll have all the money with him. He'll give everybody $1 million to say, okay, now you have a plane, you have a fair playing ground. You play it out and see how you become successful.
You know, this Trump. Speaking of Trump, I got to tell you, there is a discussion. There was a live feed this morning when we were preparing for Good Morning Day. That was talking about the expansion of that operation. Vision, right?
Yeah. His own private army.
Yes.
Trump police.
Yeah.
They call it Trump police.
No, man, they don't. They don't.
I call it that way.
Well, he basically uses the U.S. Justice Department. Now, the Justice Department is saying, Bandhujan, that they're going to send dozens of more law enforcement officers to Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Detroit to fight violent crime, expanding the deployment of federal agents to major cities under a program promoted by President Donald Trump.
It actually is not like they're not enforcing the law, they're enforcing Trump's wishes.
Well, Bandhujan, yes, please understand that when they're sending federal agents to these places, it is bringing that state under federal law.
Hey, probably he thinks
martial law.
Hey,
that.
Probably I think he feels that he actually is walking in footsteps of Abe Lincoln.
No.
Didn't Abe Lincoln actually use federal army to fight against the people in the South?
Well, no, he did that because it was for the liberation, abolishment of slavery.
So it's the other way around. So abolish that particular thing, he has to do the other way around. Right? He's employing that tactics. Where he's become the president now, he'll do whatever he wants to do.
Anyway, he made a comment, right, where they talked about Anthony Fauci and they said how Fauci is more popular than him, and he says nobody likes me. It's okay.
Yeah. Hey,
because he's a person who does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So anyway, this particular move follows similar deployments he has sent people to Chicago, Kansas City, Missouri, Albuquerque, New Mexico, under what is known as Operation Legend, an initiative launched to address.
I told you, he's a legend. He thinks he's a legend, Falcani. He's part of
he
it.
thinks, so I am legend type thing.
Yeah.
God. He did this to launch, he launched his campaign to address rising crime in some cities as unrest swept the nation after George Floyd's death in Minneapolis police custody on May 25th. I don't think we have time to share all the other news headlines and detailed news stories right here, right now, Bandhujan, on Good Morning Bay. But I would urge you to please go ahead and look up MediaMahima.com because we do have immigration news that affects dreamers that Trump has sent out a hardline policy on. So you can check out on MediaMahima.com. That's all we have time for. We will see you tonight live at 5 on the Pam Pam Show. Until then, have yourselves a safe, happy and wonderful Wednesday.
बिखरे टुकड़ों में अल्लाह की मर्जी का मंजर पाएगा अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे जो भी हो कल फिर आएगा अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे अल्लाह के बंदे अल्लाह के बंदे हंस दे जो भी हो कल फिर आएगा टूटा टूटा एक परिंदा ऐसे टूटा कि फिर जुड़ ना पाया लूटा लूटा किसने उसको ऐसे लूटा कि फिर उड़ ना पाया
Bandhujan, this is your darling Faltu Rani, and let me tell you, Bandhujani, that all these beautiful tracks that you're listening to right now are special Dihari picks that we've hand-picked just for you. We'll see you in just a few. Keep listening.
Hi, this is